This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at safernet.com.
Welcome to the Digital Desperados podcast featuring dark tales from the web. Patrick McMurphy is here today to tell us our dark tales. I'm Jim Brangenberg, and I'll serve as your story guide. And of course, Brad Hawkins joins us from SaferNet to tell us how they can save the day. You know, there's just so many tools out there that can increase anyone's online protection, but one of these tools is SaferNet. And SaferNet is the complete solution to the cybersecurity threats faced by individuals, businesses, and families. Not only does it connect every device to a 24/7, always-on military-grade VPN, but it also stops outside cyber threats, malware, and viruses as well. SaferNet was designed with user freedom in mind and can protect you anywhere in the world on any cellular device or any Wi-Fi network. In addition to the protections SaferNet offers, it also offers a range of employee and parental internet controls. These include internet filtering, monitoring, scheduling, and blocking access to websites or even entire website categories. Is there any reason you don't get secured right now? I doubt it. Check out our affordable protection at safernet.com. That's safernet.com. All right, Patrick, which dark tale are you telling us about today?
Yeah, today I want to talk about Alexsey Belan, also known as Abir Valgov. I'm just going to call Alexsey by his first name today because I cannot pronounce that pseudonym. But
Abe, you got Abe,
good old Abe, good old Alexsey Belan, Abe. So yeah, Alexsey was primarily known for the Yahoo data breach, and now these days when you talk about Yahoo, I mean, if you get a lot of Gen Z, they probably don't even know what Yahoo is. But back then, mid-2000s, Yahoo was bigger than Google. It was huge. And that data breach was the biggest in history at the time. It was half a billion Yahoo accounts were compromised. And what Alexsey did with these accounts is that he'd gain further information, like credit card information. He would sell it on the dark web. And Alexsey he's a good story about someone who's really good at one specific thing. And that's how he got his notoriety. So Alexsey was born in 1987 in Latvia, and like in our last episode, he kind of grew up in that transition between USSR, the switch from communism to capitalism. And it was funny because I wish I had this information in our last episode, because I met some Ukrainians over the weekend, and they were telling me what it was like growing up in that transitional stage. And there was a lot of things I didn't know. I mean, for example, one of the ladies, her father was an engineer with the cosmonauts. And when the switch happened, he ended up working in just like a factory production line job. And it was a complete tonal shift in life. So it's a difficult time to grow up.
I just I gotta counter you on one thing. The shift from communism to capitalism. Yeah, I don't think so, Patrick. I'm not quite sure. They might have done that on the outside. Mikhail Gorbachev might have said that's what we're going to do, but I don't think that ever really happened, because I don't think Putin is much of a capitalist.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, it's not really capitalism, is it? It's kind of distorted Russian take on capitalism.
Their own version of capitalism.
Yeah,
capitalism, it was where Russia's still in control.
Exactly, because I was in China a number of years ago, and I went to China into this. The idea was a communist country, and the first thing I see in China is this. I'm in Beijing, and I see a Lamborghini store, and I'm like, this doesn't feel very communist. So a lot of these countries just kind of have their weird take on economics that you can't really define well, but it is what it is.
All right, so
back to good old Alexsey, good old Abe. So Alexsey is he's kind of known since around 2006, because we know that because a lot of his monikers can be seen on hacking websites, on dark web forums, especially Inside Pro and Zloy. They were two really big dark websites back in the day. He was also blogging at the time using his good old Abe handle. And it's funny because if you go back and read his blogs now, they're so above board. He's just talking about his day and things like that. And it's kind of funny to see this hacker talk about he was walking his dog or something, just real normal stuff. But Alexsey at this, he's a bit of a small fry, but he's starting to make a name for himself. So he kind of starts off with hacking Russian web. He eventually gets more international. He specifically starts targeting a lot of Israeli websites. And what Alexsey's really good at doing is that he gets into websites and he steals user account information. He takes that information and sells it on the dark web. So he kind of really builds this reputation for himself where he can crack any website. And Alexsey gets known for his...
Patrick, do you know roughly how old he was when he was starting this, or before he got his notoriety? Do you know anything about his history?
Yeah, he would have been about 19 at the time. There's not a lot known about his childhood, except that we know he had close ties to Russia. So it's possible that a parent of his may have been Russian or something like that. But he was always, I mean, even though he was born in Latvia, he was definitely very close to Russia. So I think there's a possibility there's some family ties there.
Yeah, that's what always amazes me when we look at some of these real notorious hackers. You think it's like, like old mafia people, but no, they're typically just super young and super smart, and they could do almost anything, but yet they choose to operate in this way. But anyway, go ahead. I was just
in
the background.
You're right. Yeah, you're right for sure. And you kind of question, was it just these young men was there no opportunities for them that they decided to go down this? I mean, it's a pretty dark path, I mean, if there was better opportunity, yeah, dark path, dark web. But I mean, if there was more opportunities for them, if their family life had been different, would they end up, going on to university and studying mathematics and things like this? But Alexsey was really good at being evasive online. He really had a knack for evading detection. All his communication was encrypted. He really messed up with digital forensics. Like you couldn't track this guy. This guy was really get a hold of. I mean, even once he kind of got access to a website, he would really delve deep into the network infrastructure of the website. It just made him really, really difficult to track. I know at the time, if you guys can remember back then, WordPress kind of first hit the headlines. WordPress became phenomenally popular. And Alexsey was the only popular guy who was really good at hacking WordPress. He could get into any WordPress site. And so that's how he really got his reputation. If you wanted to hack a WordPress site, you had to contact Alexsey on one of these forums. Yeah, it was crazy. But what Alexsey started doing, he realized that the big fish at this point were the US e-commerce websites, and a lot of them were hosted. A lot of the WordPress sites were using things like Shopify and other platforms to sell anything. I mean, their products on their WordPress sites. But if you start, kind of poking the bear as it is with targeting US websites, the government are going to notice after a while. And at the time, Alexsey was living in Greece, and the US noticed him, and they said, we got to get rid of this guy. They put out an international warrant on him. In fact, the FBI had $100,000 bounty on his head. And so they also put on an Interpol red note.
I just have to say, I hate to say it this way, but what a genius move, hacking WordPress. Because you can bypass, if you get in one, you've got access to all of these websites. And for those people who don't know, WordPress is basically a site that you can go in and create a web page or a full website. And they host your website, and you do all your work for your website on WordPress. And so thousands and thousands of websites on there, and all he has to do is hack into WordPress, and then he has access to all of these websites. Honestly, it's like shooting fish in a barrel. But I didn't realize that. So anyway,
I've never shot fish in a barrel. I have thrown, an M80 into a lake. Is that similar? I think shooting a.
I mean, we do that in Ireland for fun, Jim. I mean, we're always shooting fish in barrels, throwing TNT and fish barrels.
It goes along the same ethical lines, yes.
Okay, all right.
Well, we didn't shoot fish in barrels, but I'll tell you what I did do growing up. So, there's not a lot of guns in Ireland. There's not really gun culture, but my dad managed to get his hands on a gun. And so we used to we would go to the store and we'd buy like 10 bottles of deodorant, and people would be like, why are these two guys buying all this deodorant? And we'd take them to a field and we used to shoot them, because if you shoot a bottle of deodorant, the thing explodes. And I was like 5 years old doing this as well. Probably not the safest thing for a 5-year-old to do in retrospect, but but we didn't shoot fish in barrels. We did shoot deodorant at a good distance. It was a nice shot. It was a good shot. It's a shame I wasn't raised in America, honestly.
Yeah. And speaking of taking a good shot at things, if you want to take a shot at your cybersecurity, you need to talk about SaferNet. Brad, how could SaferNet help protect somebody who's got a WordPress site? Is that something SaferNet can help with?
Well, actually, if he's getting into WordPress and then messing around in WordPress, it is a different type of security. So what we protect is the endpoint device. We protect all computers, tablets, cell phones, whatever it is. We protect those type of things. But getting into WordPress, that's more of a level of creative hacking that we don't mess with. But truthfully, the average person out there does not have a WordPress site. They're out there using these WordPress sites, but they're not using those. And we're more of a cybersecurity company for everybody, as opposed to companies that hold their website in a WordPress.
Very good. All right.
No, yeah, sorry. Go ahead, Jim.
No, come on. You're going to jump in on there. Go ahead.
No, yeah, I was just going to add. I mean, I've ran a lot of WordPress sites. I used to have a hockey blog. In fact, I dedicated most of my free time to writing about ice hockey. But I will add, with SaferNet, if you're running anything like a blog on WordPress, you get comments. you get comments on your blogs, and you get a lot of stuff in the contact form, and 99% of it is going to be phishing links. And if you have SaferNet, and you get one of these links and you click it, SaferNet has your back 100%. So it's definitely helpful to have, I think, if you are running any kind of WordPress site.
Yeah, I recently installed SaferNet on my mom's computer. She's 89, and I got to tell you, it when she likes to click on those really pretty links, it keeps her from going to pretty places. It keeps her from going to those places that the naughty people send her. All right, back to Greece. We've got an international.
Yes, back to Alexsey. Poor Alexsey. We almost forgot about Alexsey.
Oh, we didn't. But $100,000 reward doesn't sound like very much. But because he's probably making a lot of other people a lot more money than that. Well, what happened?
Yeah, so he's in Greece. You got the Interpol red notice. All the cops that are in any country that's aligned with the US, they're looking for him. And so Alexsey actually gets arrested by the Greek authorities. And now here's a very funny point. He somehow escaped from the police, but it's not known how. And I've always kind of had it in my head that he's in this kind of comedic scene where he's in the back of a police car and he like shuffles out the window or something. But it's not actually known how he got away from the cops, but he did. And Alexsey's first thought.
Yeah, I think that's pretty clear. He's discussing the $100,000 reward and how about $1 million if you just walk away right now?
I mean, look,
it's amazing what happens when you have a few extra dollars sitting in your bank account and they're offering $100,000 as a reward. So
yeah, and I mean, not but they are known for their love of certain brown envelopes. So I mean, look, whatever happened. All
right, so getting back to the story, he escapes from the authorities.
Yeah, so he escapes from the authorities, and Alexsey's first thought is, I need to go to Russia, because he knows that, I mean, he's a lot of friends in the hacking community. He knows that Russia is kind of a safe haven at this point for hackers. So he gets over to Russia, and the first thing he does is get in contact with the FSB, which is a very clever move by Alexsey, in fairness to him, to give him credit. And so the FSB recruit him. They may have coerced him, but I think they probably just realized they had a good guy on their hands to work with. So he partners up with two FSB agents, Dmitry Dukachev and Igor Shushkin. And so Russia at this point, they're very interested in Yahoo accounts, because there's a lot of foreign dignitaries who are using Yahoo, and they really want to get into Yahoo accounts. And they know that Alexsey is very specifically good at just hacking websites. And so Alexsey, with these two agents, they basically send them on a mission to gain access to a huge amount of accounts that are targets of interest to Russian intelligence. So we're talking about there's ministers for economic development, diplomats from other nations, investigative reporters especially, employees of certain US companies like, cloud storage companies. There's a Nevada gaming official. I don't know, do the guys want to go to Vegas for a weekend or something? But there's things like senior officials in US airlines. There's all these kind of guys, right? And so Alexsey and the two agents, what they specifically do is spear phishing. And so spear phishing is when someone in a certain company, let's say a CEO or a CFO especially, they get an email saying, hey, this is your, accountant or whatever. Please click on this link. I mean, look, they're going to be a lot more elaborate than that. I was never good at spear phishing myself, but this is what they're doing to get access to these accounts. And so while Alexsey's working doing this for the FSB, he's also moonlighting hacking other Yahoo accounts. And so he does crazy stuff. People talk about SEO these days, search engine optimization. And, there's Brad and I know there's whole companies out there that are dedicated to SEO. Alexsey's so good at SEO that he hacks the Yahoo search algorithm. So anytime you search things like pharmacy online, all you get is his affiliate links. The guy just masters it. So, if you ever need SEO, talk to Alexsey because he's onto something.
We are not recommending here on the Digital Desperados podcast. We're not recommending that you try to contact Alexsey. We think that would be a bad idea.
Yeah, please do. Please not bring me to court if you try to contact Alexsey and your bank account is gone the next day. It's not my fault, but he is really good at SEO if you're interested. But I suppose during all this, all the moonlighting he's doing, he actually gains access to 500 million Yahoo accounts, which is just insane. It's actually the biggest hack at the time. And so he's just selling all this information online. He's also orchestrating other phishing attacks based off the account information he gets. Like, for example, if he got access to his CEO, he'd then be emailing the CTO, etc. And that's really Alexsey. He's still at large. Now, he's not been in the headlines for a couple of years, but a lot of these guys haven't because it's kind of assumed right now they're probably working on the whole war in Ukraine situation. But yeah, he's still hacking. He's still hacking WordPress. He's still with those two FSB agents. And that's Alexsey Belan.
Well, it's absolutely amazing to think about the cover that Russia's providing these guys to allow them to just do what they do.
It's crazy.
And the fact that it's a known thing that, man, if you're in trouble, you know where to go. But yeah, anyway, that's just amazing.
I'm just saying, it's trouble. I'm not going to Russia. I don't care. Maybe you're probably safer in prison in the United States. Pretty sure. I don't know. Or you could just go to Montana. They can't find you there anyway. All right. Not that we're talking about evading the authorities, but we are talking about evading those people who are coming at you from the dark web. SaferNet can be there for you on all your devices, 24/7, 365, web filtering, VPN. It is there for you. There's just so many pieces of what they do, but being able to monitor, to be able to control where your family goes, to be able to control where your employees go, to be able to make sure that when you click on a link, if it goes to a naughty place, that it just doesn't go. That's the power of SaferNet. Go online to safernet.com, safernet.com. Patrick and Brad, thanks for being here today. Thanks for bringing us the story.
Thanks, Jim. Thanks for having us.
Alexsey.
Great, Jim. Thank you.
Yeah, you bet. You bet. You heard it here. The internet and everything digital can have a dark side with many dark players. That's why you need SaferNet on your side. Thanks to SaferNet for supporting our efforts of bringing these stories to your ears and giving them the exposure that they need, please, for your own security and your safety. For those that you love and those that you work with, check out safernet.com. Get secure today. Till next time, click only on the attachments and the links you trust from those you trust and delete the rest, or you may become the next victim of a digital desperado.
This episode of the Digital Desperados podcast is brought to you by SaferNet VPN, found online at safernet.com. Business owners, listen up. Criminals and search engines do not need to know everything you do on the internet. SaferNet VPN ensures your company's safety with its powerful cybersecurity defenses. Explore the Control Center dashboard for seamless management. Shield your workforce from inappropriate web content using 84 internet filters. Trust SaferNet VPN. your path to worry-free online operations. Get secured now. Sign up at safernet.com. That's safernet.com.